Det vil ikke kan nani tuin nang nau ahi kanya du hin. Ikan ichenga kangau kangyan tasen nahap idoni tekan kangau dumi. Kanong naing itaatan ahi kanya roda. Kay tasa kay kamay natak suwara do kay ahi dayong kaya. Tainga nungana kaya mikko. Taikan ito na hamay ito.
Hello everyone. I am welcoming you in this meeting of two extraordinary people. Firstly, I would love to introduce you to a wonderful human being, a quantum physics scientist, Jan Rak.
Thank you.
And a man from the north of Greenland who is passing the great knowledge of the elders, the voice of Arctic, Hivshu.
Thank you.
So, let's open our hearts and let the gentleman start. So, how are you today?
So, thank you. I would also like to greet all the, participants in this discussion. So, we have a couple of simple questions, right? Where is the universe coming from and the meaning of life and so on. So, maybe you have some answer already now.
I'm very honored to be with you, and we are carrying the stories for I don't know for how long time, how many generations, and compared to the science, it's always exciting, and I'm very honored to be in this panel. Thank you.
Thank you. It's also a great honor for me, obviously, right? So I think we are here kind of to discuss maybe a little bit the connection between the, let's say, Asian wisdom which you represent, right? And maybe the Western scientific approach, right?
Yeah.
And I think that what I have found in my life is that I was educated in the Western system, obviously, and I think I have a deep knowledge on, physics. I understand, quantum physics, many aspects of quantum physics, theory of relativity, and so on. So I think that one of the most important questions which I learned, the quantum physics kind of brought for the discussion is, what is consciousness, right? So because we have learned that consciousness somehow plays the very important role in the way how we experience the world, obviously, right?
The life has no beginning, and what happened, our stories is reminding us of our forgotten life, which means that if we go to the planet where we are going to live the life, to learn how to be connected to our consciousness, I will call it subconsciousness, which is so deep. It's we call this consciousness hidahakput. Hidahakput means it's very difficult to, it cannot be translated because it's beyond the understanding of the consciousness. There's no definition of Hilahwakput. Our life, we can call it consciousness, the subconsciousness, where it is very difficult to go in without connecting. The old stories and the songs, vibrations, they are affecting our subconsciousness, our deepest part of our heart. Then we remember somehow. We see suddenly a kind of vision, like it's like when the elders are telling the stories, we see like a video. And the elders, when they're telling, then we see the place. It's like they are showing us a video. Even though what they don't tell, we can see. And everything there that we are collecting. But when you are a child, of course, when you see something interesting, you don't hear the elders telling, but you just see. And you focus this, and you don't see the rest of it, and you don't hear the rest of it. But even though you have been stuck in that position of the story, the elders keep repeating the same story during the life. And you get the whole story at the end of your youth. Then you're beginning to understand not understand, but you're beginning to see the whole film, the whole movie of life. But you don't understand it yet. Yes. And then part of this you understand. Part of this movie you understand, but not the whole. By the time of your life, you are putting it together, and slowly you got the whole understanding. So, but my elders used to say, you don't have to understand nothing. Just live the life on this earth, because you are here to live the life and feel everything what the life is offering you. And you just live this life with a lot of feelings. And deal with all these feelings. You don't have to reject them because it's part of life. You just receive them because this will become your experiences. And that's here, you are here to learn, to experience the life.
Right. I think it's very wise, what did you say, that at the end it's maybe not so important, or maybe not important at all, to understand what the life actually is, but it's important rather to live the life, right? The question is what we can learn from each other, right? And I think it's very interesting. What did you say, that the elders kind of are singing the song? Somehow also this song is something which gives to kids kind of the way to understand what we are living. You know, I think that there is a tendency that people wants to understand, not just to live, but also wants to understand what should I do in order to make my life better and things like that. And my opinion is that to understand, it is really related to understanding what the consciousness actually is, right? You know, the Western civilization represents the materialistic kind of view that the whole universe kind of started in the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago. And it insisted on the fact that the universe can be a place without any conscious being and so on. And the life itself kind of came from chaos somehow accidentally, so to speak. One can, you see? And maybe it's not exactly what you would think, right, about or your people, right?
Among other universes, or billions of universes outside, so many that you can actually go to the one beach and pick up the sand corn, and you can try to count them. And you will never finish counting, because that's many universes you find out there's limitless billions of universes outside our universe. And some of them are inhabited, and some of are empty but ready to be habited. And some are not ready to be inhabited, not habitable yet, because they are in their process. And so the story was about that even the dark was created by the Creator. We never know who is the Creator, but we know that the life is Creator, and Creator is the life. And life is everything, and everything is life. So it means everything is alive, has their own way of life that we cannot perceive with this human mind. And we don't have to. We have to learn to respect the life that way, with knowing that life is the Creator, and Creator is the life. And this dark was created also, even if, and the cold was created by the Creator. And it was there alone. And suddenly it was hearing something coming. And they were seeming like passing around. And some of them, the voice was saying, "Is that the entrance? Oh, maybe. Oh, just take a look at the entrance. Just try to go in." Seems like there were two voices. And one of them came in, and the second one followed after. And they were there. Inside this universe, they call it, they was like egg. Not round, but oval, like something egg. Billions of them outside. And when they came in, the voice was saying, "Oh, it's so peaceful. At last." It was so chaotic and noisy where we came from. So they were escaping from another universe which has become chaotic and noisy. Yes. So they came in. And while they were there, time didn't exist, distance didn't exist, and they were just there and having a good time, peaceful, dark, cold place, until one of them was asking, "Should we have a light?" Then the trouble began, and they were arguing. And when it is dark and cold, when you are talking and arguing to each other, you breathe a lot, and then you make a dance. When the dance is beginning to be very thick, then it was enlightened. That's how everything, the breath of our ancestors began. That's the story of the universe, how the life came into us. That's how we tell the story.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think what I see is this, what many people here believe that the source of everything, kind of, in a way, it's the life or God or consciousness. One can use many different names for it, right? But the source itself kind of is splitting itself into kind of this duality, right? And you were also speaking about two voices arguing each other, right? And I also see that this reality is what the consciousness kind of experience itself, right? In a way of the self-awareness and the first experience of itself is this I am, right? This I am, and to my opinion, that's this kind of the first duality, as you said, these two voices, right? That one kind of that also the I am in the source itself, because the source to my understanding is kind of the source of everything in terms of potentials, right? There is everything what can happen, but in a way, in the same way also there is nothing, because it's this unlimited emptiness, or right? And only, you know, this first kind of duality, I am, splits the neutral emptiness into two poles, right? I and yam, where the I is kind of this emptiness, and the yam represents probably the first illusion of time. You were also saying that they were in this egg of the universe, there was no time, right? But they were there enjoying the time. You see, so it's so difficult to speak about these things within the language which is already contained, so to speak, right, in the subject of what is trying to describe. Right. So, to my opinion, it's very similar to what you were saying. It's not far from how I do kind of think about this thing, but you know, our kind of people are more in favor of this materialistic view. Do you believe that you know, it can be a universe or some materialistic thing without consciousness at all? Because, you know, the quantum physics also say that everything what we see, experience is due to the focus of conscious kind of being.
Well, I don't know. I don't know actually, but I think I can try to explain much in our way of understanding of life. We cannot separate it. We cannot separate life into small parts. Right. And we are in the physical life, where the material is important also to live, to survive. In example, in the Arctic, to be able to survive, we have to use the material of the earth. We have to use what the nature is giving us, and that's material. At the same time, we are keeping our consciousness, which means our physical part have to be adapted to the whole nature of life, which means our brain is a physical part. The brain is not supposed to take over, and the brain is to take care of the body. When the body is telling the brain, now I have a problem, then the brain will fix that. And the only way to connect to the consciousness, according to the stories and songs, don't use your brain. Don't use your imaginations. Don't think. Be with the wholeness. And when you are doing that, you go to your heart, where the connection is there to your origin life, or before you came to the earth. Then the heart has its own brain, we should say brain, have another kind of intelligence, which is more intelligent and powerful than the brain. And we know that because when your feelings are very intense, you lose the control. Your brain cannot control you no more. So that's how we understand the consciousness is that strong. You can only connect it through the deep feelings. When you have so deep feelings that, and emotions that activate, emotions that is affected by what you are feeling, what you are experiencing, it activates your subconsciousness. Then you suddenly feel something which is powerful inside you. And you feel everything. That's the only way I can say about the consciousness.
how can we go to the state of wholeness, as you said? How can, especially like someone like me can feel through heart and go to the state, like feel the wholeness?
I think I understand. You said that the brain can be also kind of the thinking process itself, can, so to speak, distract you from seeing the truth which is inside your heart, right? Mm. So that's, you know, I think also all this, then, you know, meditations and all this kind of practice is also the way how to, you know, try to, you know, I think it's not that the brain is kind of, or thinking is your enemy or things like that, but it's rather you have to, one should, to my opinion, keep it, to have the ability to keep it under control, right? That's probably the point of that, right?
Right. It is about receiving. It is about receiving, and don't try to separate it. Don't try to reject it. Because if you are trying to reject, you are using force which will never meet each other. They will fight each other, fight. But if you receive and accept that this part of life is not to be connected, then you are connected. Everybody is actually connected, but they are distracted by many distractions, and their focus is to the distraction. When the distraction have power to you, then it is difficult to connect. If you try to connect, it will not work. But if you accept that you are distracted and you understand the distraction is there, and let the distraction be there, and you focus on different. Go into your feelings and accept this noise and chaos. You go to your own space, and your space is expanding, and at the end, you take this confusing distraction to be the part in your space, then you accept everything. You are not trying to separate yourself or separate anything from you, but keep the space to be one. That's the only way I know. It's just like the hunting. When we are hunting in the dark, we keep our space to connect it to everything around us. And we know we are not alone. Even we don't see them, we feel them. And if we don't see them and we don't feel them, our dogs, which are more clever than us to hear very far, and they are more clever to smell anything, they become our nose and they become our ears. And that's how we are helping each other. And that's how we became one with everything. So I don't know how to practice that because I am not expert in that.
Thank you. I understand so much better now.
You know, I like also the kind of the idea that we are actually also ears and eyes and noses of the planet, you know, of the Earth, right? That's similar what you were saying about that the dogs became kind of your ears and noses. That's interesting. Look, also about the separation, we had some short discussion before this dialogue actually began. You were saying that that the best teachers are actually your enemies, right? Or also the situations which you think are not kind of good, or so people are trying to separate from that, but in reality, what people are thinking is a bad thing or bad experience or some enemies, and so it might be actually the best teacher in your life, right?
that's how we these experiences that boiling us, that boiling our feelings. What I know is we are from the stars. We are part of this dust of the stars on the earth. And we activate our hilahakput through vibrations, through the drums, and through the songs or through the stories. And these feelings are activating us to be connected to the wholeness. And the same. The purpose of our life on this earth, we know, is to experience our feelings, deepest feelings, which is expanding us with force of feelings, expanding us so we can be bigger. It's like we are in that small bottle. If we put something very hot and it's boiling inside, then at the end explode. So you have to make a bigger bottle. And that's how the feelings, when someone is activating our anger, hate, or anything which is expanding us, is actually our teachers. They're teaching us how to deal with our feelings. And in the first reaction is we get scared of our feelings, that we can have these feelings. And we try to tell ourselves, no, I'm not like that, I'm not like that. I'm a good person, I'm a good person. Who is a good person? No one. Everybody is good person and everybody is bad people. So we are all together inside us, but we reject ourselves to deal with some part of that we don't want to accept. But someone is tricking us. And suddenly we understand there's something there in our little universe that we have to learn. We don't have to focus out. But the most important in this life is to learn how to feel.
Right, that's very interesting. I think that's the wisdom which I also kind of share. It means kind of that I also believe that what is outside kind of is mirroring what is inside. That you are actually all the time looking outside, meaning it's inside you, right?
Yes.
And that might be also related. People are asking, what's the meaning of life and things like that. I think it is related exactly as you said, that through the experiences and through the emotions, you can kind of expand your consciousness further, right? And to my understanding, the most important things beyond the feelings are also how to handle the fears, right? So I call it the path of coming out from the comfort zone, which is kind of giving you also the force to deal with your inner fears, right? Because the fear is a tool how other people can then, through the fears, manipulate your subjective space, your subjective universe, right?
Right.
So to handle I think, right, so to my opinion, there are three most important, so to speak, tools which people should try to get to handle and that's the focus, to what ideas I am giving a kind of focus, right? Then emotions and the fears. I think these are the three, to my opinion, most important abilities everybody should kind of try to learn, right?
Right.
Can you tell us something about what do you think ego is?
You can see the ego by watching the whole world right now. Just by seeing how the ego is treating the whole life on the earth. That's the ego. The ego is the destruction, separating us into race, religion, and nationalities, and whatever, to be rich and power and everything that destroys everything of life is the ego. The human being has become megalomaniac-minded, and separating everything is like people who has no knowledge of this ego. They will be controlled by the egomaniac people. And of course, the wiser people who never fight with no one, they see this person is dangerous. Okay, we accept him, let him do his work. Because one day this ego will understand that it doesn't work. Because heart, as they say, we have a brain that has become an ego. An ego has entered our brain and began to manipulate it, because the brain understood that it has the power to change the body and fix the body. And when the brain understood it could separate us from heart into materialism, and materialism is actually the body, how to protect the body. The brain could materialize it also by saying material is important. And to have the material things, and you have a lot of them, then you have a power. And suddenly you are having a house, bigger house, it's getting bigger with a lot of things. You are protected. And this is your position. Your possession is very important to you. But for the heart in our nations, we don't own nothing. We don't even own the land. We know that the creation is owned by the Creator. We are just there to take care of it. And we are here to take care of the life of the garden. And also here to learn about life without the memory, the origin memory we have before we came to the earth. And all these feelings we have to learn, but never to destroy anything by using our ego. If the ego takes over, then we have to regain our life. And accepting this ego that is there too. And it can be dangerous if you let it take over. But you keep the life is by respecting everything. So you can do that. An example. A person, there was a story about hate and love. Hate could be the ego, because you only hate because of your ego. You want the power. You want the control. You want the, everything, actually. And they were together. And the man was the hate, actually, because Inughuit in our language, Inughuit is the one who kills. Anak is the one who makes the birth. And so the hate began to be angry of no reason, because hate can activate itself without any reason, no reason at all. And it began to stab. So love went out into the snowstorm and tried to find where it could hide. And the hate was so furious and in rage that it took a spear and went out to follow. But it was deep snow. And he was trying to figure out where love was. And behind the stone, there was a snow drive, and there he was trying to find if there was not, and stuck love in the eye. Oh, and the other one. And went up with the arms up through the snow drive. So hate saw that it had done something very, very, very bad. When love is coming with the hands, and saw that the hate has blinded the hate or love, and took her hand. And the hate didn't know what to do. Just only helping love to go anywhere. Since then, love and hate was hand in hand. And love is following where the hate is going, because the hate knows where the hate is, and love is there. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's how, when love comes, then you know there's love and hate. You cannot separate them. You cannot separate light and dark into two things. You cannot separate life into two. You weakened it. You have to accept there is dark and light in the life. And it's the way you understand hate, or the way you understand or define hate or define love, is up to you. If you separate love from hate, the love becomes destruction too, because it becomes too strong alone, as the hate become destructive. But when they are together, they're beginning to support each other, that they don't become too big ego.
Yeah, I see it in similar way also. We were speaking about this duality, right? So the love and hate or fear kind of, are different faces of the same neutral kind of thing. So the duality, actually, I believe that you cannot experience love if you don't know anything about the other part of the hate or whatever, right?
Exactly.
So this, to my opinion, is kind of the reference to experience. And as you said, maybe the meaning of the life is to experience the emotions, right? So maybe that's why also we are experiencing kind of the polarities, right? Dark and bright, the light and darkness, and love and the hate and so on, right? Because you cannot really understand the one without the other, right?
Right. That's, if you never have been in the dark, you will never understand how to grade light. Or if you never have been in the hate, you don't know how to grade love. So you have to have these feelings to understand how to be grateful on both. because they are helping you to understand how to receive your life with both, not separating it.
That's right.
That's how we understand it. And I actually believe it, because this has been part of my life, the whole life, until I began to go to school. Then everything became mechanical, as if everything should be only the physical part. Then I left school to go back to my people to learn the wisdom again from the beginning, and I'm still learning, never ending learning.
What is life to you?
As is another word for consciousness or God or for everything. So, I mean, to my opinion, everything what we experience is life, and it comes from life. And also I believe that the consciousness itself experience things, and that's the only thing what exists, right? Everything what exists is an experience of consciousness, right? And consciousness is the life. To my opinion, that's how life works, actually, right?
That I never understood the science, but now you are talking very clearly. It's actually the same we are talking about.
Yeah, there are different kind of, science, to my opinion. Scientific opinion is, I think it's maybe changing now, but it's still that the universe and all the experience we have is a kind of materialistic machine, right? So the Big Bang theory and so on is something similar to the machine which we can kind of compute, the evolution. We can calculate the future, we can kind of calculate what's happened, in past and so on. So it's kind of mechanistic, right?
Right.
On the other side, the physics as a science is the science of not living, bodies and so on. So the life itself obviously doesn't follow much of the physical laws, I would say, right? But I think that this opinion might be, the problem with this kind of aspect, to my opinion, is that there are no answers to many questions, right? For example, how come that from the let's say chaotic ocean of molecules, the conscious beings arises, right? So this is not, these questions are not, are not known, and to my opinion that's because they are fundamental to kind of the scientific paradigm, right?
Okay.
To my opinion, if we accept, and it's difficult for many people in this society, it's clear, but if we kind of accept that the objectivism, it doesn't really explain all aspects of our life, and it might be so that the source of everything is not a matter, but consciousness itself. And then the matter comes as an experience of consciousness, right? So, to my opinion, this kind of paradigm transformation will help a lot to scientists to understand more about what the life really is, right? Because to explain life or the origin of life in scientific term is impossible.
Okay. Life is, to us, life is everything. And everything is life. Right. And life cannot die. Life has no death. Life is never change. Even though the way we live on this earth in physical form, we are transforming during our life. It's about transforming to a bigger being, to understand life better. And I think somehow when someone is trying to distract us with a lot of things that distract us away from the life by saying, oh, this is not a good life, it's not real life, it's not like that. And we believe it until we see something different. And we decide to go our own path, to live our own life. And we understand this distraction was actually our teacher, telling us where to go, how to take our own decision to live our own life, to learn the life of ourselves. I think it has been like that for generations. You were born to transform during your life, and there are many kinds of distraction to challenge. And the same here with the science, which has something very specific they know, but they don't know the core of this one. Just like with the gravity, they know how it works, but they don't know where it is from or how it is working.
It's clear that there are many issues and open questions which it's probably impossible to address scientifically, and everybody also knows that you know, at the end of my life, or everybody's kind of life, everybody will be somehow faced with fundamental questions, right? What, as we have discussed already, meaning of life, and you know that this kind of transformation, important fact that this kind of materialistic view doesn't give us really a clue what will happen in the moment of the death, right? So people then are fearing this moment and so on. Yes, so that's to my opinion where the wisdom of kind of this non-materialistic view might really help.
Right. In this life, what I know from elders, when they say everything is life, that our ancestors came into this universe with their breath and give the life to the universe. And when they were, I was actually asking my elders, I was actually challenging my elders, and you never do that in our nation. You never question the elders. But I actually asked my old man, who adopted me because they didn't have a son. So he adopted me, and I was actually asking these elders, my elders, why are we here? And they say, go out. Go out. So I went out, and they was actually so angry. I said, I stay away for 3 days. And when I returned, they were greeting me, just looking at me coming in, and just seeing me, and then they continued what they were doing. And I was sitting there and thinking they still may be angry with me. And I have a lot of thought. Maybe I was sitting there for 15 minutes or something like that. Then I was thinking, okay, I let go. I can go out anytime I want. Then they turned to me here you are. I've been sitting there for 15 minutes. And then here you are. Then I understood. My mind was away with a lot of distraction and thought. So they could see that and feel that. So it was useless to talk to me. So there you are. When I settle down, then they say, okay, there you are. And did you understand why we are here? And I said, no, I didn't. Then they were asking me, why are the mountains here? Why are the snow here? Why are the icebergs here? Why are the stars here? Why? Everything they were asking. And I didn't understand that at the time. So everything is there because we need everything there. We have to be with them, not separate us from them by thinking that we are more important than the life. We are part of life. We cannot separate us from life, but being part of life to keep the life. So I can say that, and I can tell you, I still don't understand it.
Yeah, maybe everything is there because everything is there, right?
Even the chaos. Yes, even the chaos is there, is part of life. And actually, what we know about what happens after life on this earth, what I know is there's masters up there or down there, everywhere. They will be greeting us and say, welcome home, welcome back. Did you achieve what you were supposed to do? And you will know at the time why you went to this life on this planet, because there are many planets you can go to. But it says that this earth is the hardest place to experience, because their feelings are stronger and manipulation is bigger and everything is chaos with the human mind and human feelings, where the conflict actually begins from the beginning. And then you know when you come back, because life never dies, but you cannot take your body with you. You leave it there. When your life is out of the body, then the body, which is on earth, you left it. And they welcome you. And then you will understand that you actually have planned from the beginning what kind of life you want to experience, to live your life, to learn how it is to have these feelings, because there you don't know these feelings. You only can experience the life intensively without memory. But you still have the subconscious that you can activate. But there's always at least 3 guides you made agreement with before you came to the earth. They will be taking care of you, so you keep to this life you were planning, or when you are in big trouble because you cannot figure out how to deal with this life and you are in big trouble, you can always just say, help me. That's the code. Help me. And you do it with your heart when it is burning of desperation. When you are frustrated that you are giving up everything and you are in big trouble, you just go down with all your 4 and say, help me, help me. Then they help you, because there's the only code Yes, password they are waiting for. They cannot interrupt you before you say that. You just, it's very easy. Help me! And you get help. They can guide you. That's what we know.
I think that's very nice. You know, kind of the earth is then kind of playground or kindergarten for us really to experience emotions, right? To learn the emotions, right?
Jan, I have a question for you. I would like to ask you, how would you explain the randomness, the moment of coincidence?
Right. You know, the randomness is one of the key issues in quantum physics, right? In quantum mechanics, because what scientists or physicists has discovered that objects do not really exist in the classical way, but they exist as a so-called wave functions, which represents kind of the imaginary, so to speak, dimension of existence, meaning that it is consciousness which interacts with this kind of potential, with the wave functions, and then the creation of the information happens, right? So it's the interaction between consciousness and the potential, so to speak. And to my opinion is that's actually all what it is, right? No objects or something we are always kind of tend to believe that the objects are real and so on, but from the quantum point of view, it's all information which is created by the process of interaction of consciousness with a potential. But the big issue is, if you take one kind of wave functions which represents in some way a probability distributions, that if you look you will find something there, or at some given properties with the, you know, positions, velocity or what, then in one single event nobody actually can tell what really happened, because the wave function represents the probability distribution, but it's not a sharp value. If you classically calculate, for example, the kinetic energy of some moving car, you can get, so to speak, a precise number, right? But in quantum mechanics, you will get only the distribution. So the randomness in this point of view is somehow deeply rooted into existence itself. You know, everything is somehow subject of this undetermined, unprecise randomness. Many spiritual people believe that this also related to way how you experience the world, in a way that you are experiencing some, so to speak, synchronicities, which are kind of describing interaction of your mind, of your thoughts, with what is really happening. And to my opinion, it's very similar, if not the same, as what we see in quantum physics, right? You focus somehow your consciousness, your focus on the wave function, and then you get the information which is defined by this potential distribution, right? And in the real life, you also, you know, you think about somebody, and in 5 seconds you got a phone call or things like that. So it's very similar. You know, this random properties or the random nature of the world. Even Albert Einstein was, so to speak, reluctant to accept, and he was always asking the God doesn't play a dice with the universe, right? So it is, I think it's very fundamental question, you know, what the randomness really is, and whether or not this is kind of reflecting in this, what we call the synchronicities and so on. So I think synchronicity is something which really reflects the deeper kind of rules of the reality itself, the quantum rules.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So about like telepathy, is that the same thing?
Right, look, to again, my opinion, things like telepathy or, you know, traveling in time or this kind of stuff itself, but to my opinion, it's more deeply connected to this, let's say, notion of that the source of everything is consciousness, right? And then if you think about the consciousness as a kind of collective consciousness or God consciousness or, you know, this kind of terms, then I believe that we have discussed here this ego. What the ego is, to my opinion, ego is a distraction of this collective consciousness which creates the illusion of individuality, right? So, but the individuality itself is also an illusion, and if you accept that, obviously that's the topic for other, you know, long discussion also, but if we take a shortcut, then I would say if you accept that the consciousness is a source, real source of the experience, and then the ego is kind of a distraction or something which, you know, creates the illusion of the individuality, then you can maybe clearly understand that telepathy is possible because it comes from one single source, right? Only that we have forgotten that we are kind of limited, and in kind of limited view, a limited perception of the reality, and that's why we think it's impossible. But I have experienced myself. I'm doing this parachuting thing, and in the free fall, I experienced many times the direct telepathy, and only afterwards, when we have landed, I realized that it was a kind of clear dialogue which I have experienced in my head. Although, you know, kind of the physical dialogue in the free fall is impossible, you know. So the telepathy, to my opinion, is very natural way of communication. Only we tend to not to believe it's possible. That's why if I don't believe it's possible, then it is not possible, right?
We have a way of communication among my people. If you get into a room with where we have a open house, where we are celebrating anything in the family, that everybody is welcome to come. And there can be 30 people sitting together, and some of them are eating and some of them are drinking coffee, and they are living and doing like that, and sometimes they go, and just after that there's only one say, and then a while, the other one will say, and the other one will say, So actually no words communication in this, but they have the space. They don't talk much, but they are just reflecting to each other what was saying. Then they understand because they are in the same space. And to the foreigners who were visiting together with me, coming into a house where there were supposed to be 30 people when they were in, but it seems like it's empty. No, there are people there.
And nobody's speaking, right?
Nobody's speaking. And these two strangers who were from Denmark, they were very uncomfortable because they have to speak. They began to speak very, very like that. They have to speak all the time. And disturbing the silence, so to say. And they couldn't be in the same room because they are separated themselves. They don't sit down and just enjoying being there. And because while they are sitting there and they accept the silence, then suddenly they will feel something. So this has no language. This is the communication of a level where everybody understands. They don't have to speak. They have to, So to us, we have no coincidence. But we say actually, they were connecting. They were connecting. And this connection is not coincidence to us. So everything is when you need it, when you need someone to be your teacher or your guide, or you are going to supporting each other, then people appear as if it was coincidence. But just like you, now we are together. Someone was fixing that we should meet each other and being together and talking about everything and sharing our experience and sharing our, what do you call it, knowledge. And the way we can share it to each other, then even though I don't understand much of you are saying the last word, I know, as my elders used to say, everything is life. Life is everything. Even the words, even the thought are life. They will go into the universe. They'll be there and waiting for you. Until you need them, they will come. Exactly. And you will understand what you were talking about in an example. So when they were telling me, they used to say, now time has come for you that will tell you something. And you will probably not understand everything because you are too young. But everything is life. Life is everything. The words and thought were coming out to the space, they will return to you when time comes, when you need them. And that will happen to me too.
Exactly, very nice. It's actually, I had this feeling many times, you learn something, or I remember, from my profession, when I read some articles, for example, 10 years ago, I didn't understand, and suddenly, after several years, it came back into my head to kind of turn my attention back to this paper. When I read it again, then I suddenly understand, so this is, sure, I think that everything has its time, right? So right. To understand. You also, I also like your example with this silent house, I did myself this kind of exercise when I spent 1 week alone in the dark room. I don't know whether you know this exercise when you...
yes, I heard about that, yes.
Right, you lock yourself into a room where there is no light, so it's absolutely isolated from light and also from sounds, right? So it's you are really alone with you for a week, and I think it's exactly, the way you experience really, all your thoughts are at the beginning very destructive, right? And then you understand that if you don't suppress this destructive thinking, then you either will be crazy or you have to, run away, right? But the only thing is really to get kind of in peace with your thinking and turn your attention inside you, right? Because outside it's nothing, right? Darkness and silence, right? And for me it was the kind of the most... the kind of strongest and most kind of influential experience I have in all my life.
Okay. Yes.
I really learn a lot, and then I understand your people, being in the house, and saying, once a day, I can understand that, right? That's very nice.
So imagine that we are from the place where we have today the first day without sun. Mm-hmm. The sun has set for good for this year, and they will be away for 4 months. Mm-hmm. So between these 4 months, 2 months, it's totally dark. It's night. Mm-hmm. So there's no light coming. Only when it is clear weather, you can see for a couple of hours the stripe of red, yellow, a little bit yellow, orange light coming in the horizon, but it doesn't light up where we can see. We cannot see nothing. So it's actually dark. Only the stars are there.
And what do you do during these days? I want to know what are you doing during these days when you can't see anything? Like...
So we feel the life. It's natural to us that this long night is part of our life, that we have a long night, and there we are not distracted by the light. We are not distracted by the movement. We are not distracted by anything, only the sound. Only when we see the stars and when the moon is there and we see some. And it's like we have a kind of space that is scanning around. When we are traveling, our memory has scanned everything, how the sled is moving, and because we have to figure out where it is best for the sledges and dogs to pass, because sometimes there are pack ice or the icebergs we have to go around. Mm-hmm. So we know everything, even if we didn't see them from the beginning. It's like we know them already. That's how we are training our expansion of communication with ourselves, with the nature. Mm. And the nature is actually communicating with us, and that's how we receive it. Mm. We are more alert when it is dark. We are more expanding with our consciousness. Mm. When it is dark, we are far, far away. When it is light, and again for 4 months where the sun is around, then we only distracted by what we see. And we don't much use the ears either, but much more our sight. And it becomes a kind of narrow. Mm. But when it is dark, we become expanded. Mm.
And when the lights come, do you like celebrate it somehow, or?
Yes, we do that too. We celebrate. There's a celebration before the light comes. Very important festivities our ancestors used to celebrate was when the 2 stars we call osadě. The trail appears. When it appears, then it is the lowest part of the night. Mm-hmm. And then they were doing was festivities for a week to see if the light is actually on the way back. That's these songs and festivities was dragging up the sun, otherwise it will sink and never return. Mm. Because in the beginning there were no suns, there were no moon, there were only the earth and the stars. And the sun and the moon came later. Mm. Mm. And it seems like they were from the big cities, and they were Americans.
Of course.
And they were at that time where the sun has returned, and it's actually warm. to us when it is minus 25 or minus 20. It's actually warm. And when we were traveling out, the first day we stopped for camping because it should be traveling with dog sledges for a week. And while we had been camping there and we were preparing things and food, and when we settled down, after we had been eating, some of them went out to see the nature, the desert of ice. And some of the tourists returned because it's beginning to be cold, and one of them was staying out there. And when he came in, he was just like in shock. I hear something out there. I hear something out there. Like that. What is it? What is it? Where? So we went out together with him. And we went to the place where he was listening to that. Can you hear it? No, we don't hear it. But he doesn't hear it either. And when we left him, then he can hear it. Then we understood he was listening to his heart for the first time.
Oh. Amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing.
That was his heart for the first time he was listening to. It was so because it's so silent. So he was hearing himself. Then it was a shock to him. So when I'm thinking about these young people where they are distracted by this internet or things, and I don't know how to say about that, because even my people have this now, but they have it. I know they have it until it doesn't work, because the internet is not working all the time.
That's right.
When it is working, then it is working. But it's not so interesting. So they are combining their life with that, but they are not depending on that, because if everything breaks down, then they will be able to live without that.
It actually brings me, to this question of whether, or what's happening kind of today to our civilizations, because I'm speaking now, thinking in terms of this kind of pandemic situation and so on. To my opinion, what is really happening is that it's forcing people to think back again about the dependencies on these technologies. Like, we are so much dependent now on, food chain, information chain, healthcare chain, we are chained a lot, now. And I think this pandemic situation is actually opening a little bit maybe our eyes, because then you see it might be not so bad idea to use a local kind of food production and so on. So this tendency of globalization, it might be something which is questioned now. And so I like what did you say about this house in the darkness and people not speaking. That's maybe it's not, doesn't need to be so dramatic, but some rethinking on how we want to organize our society in future. I think it should be much less dependent on this global structure, I would say.
So we are depending on the nature, and our dependence of the nature is telling us that we should be adapted to the nature and not try to force the nature to adapt to us. And when we begin to force it, we destroy it, and we begin to manipulate it, and it becomes a pollution. And then we create bacteria, virus, We create storms because we are forcing it to change. It's just like we change the flood, the what do you call it, river, to run the other way. It affects the climate. It's not just like that, but we affect the climate with the way of life of ours. When we affect that, we affect everything. It becomes a kind of change reaction.
Everything is connected with everything, right?
Yeah.
That's right, right.
And then suddenly people who are depending on everything, that the system is controlling them to feed the system, it will break down. And many people will do not know how to survive because they have always been depending on the system. But time has come where we were warned through this virus. They will come where you have no connection to each other. Right. So you have to prepare for the local productions, how to survive. And there we'll be aware of what we are doing and what we are using, how the way we use the earth. Then we will wake up. And when we touch the earth, then we know we have to be careful with that. How much it's giving us food. We have just been unaware of, because we could just go to the stores.
Right. Look, I was thinking when listening to you, when you were saying, you know, these hunting abilities of your people, I was thinking about hunting abilities of our people in Tesco, you know. You know, it's also, you know, hunting right, for discounts and so on.
Right. We know actually there's technology which we are not using, the cosmos energy, that we actually can use without any electricity because it's electric. Even our body is electric. And that's how the way our shamans are working, because they know how to be connected to the cosmos. And they know, I know from our shamans, everything is technology beyond what we know. So our internet is just like the first time you ever used the telephone compared to the technology we see up there. So communication doesn't have to be through the telephones, because you just connect, as a communication used to be like you just touch the ground, and this ground is connected to the other people. They do like that if someone is connected, and they can feel it, and they get the information. And you can also go with your ear to the ground of the earth. You can hear people talking. If you are receiving with your heart, not with your mind, it's not possible. Then it does not. When this one is blocking you.
Right. If you are hearing with your mind, you need a smartphone, right?
Right. Everything is actually working that way. Actually, we don't need all this technology because we are technology. The universe, the cosmos is technology. That's how our ancestors was using this huge technology to visit the other star people, and using the earth to live, where the shamans are asked by their people, what do we do now? But normally the shamans do not dictate no one, because they are only observers and listeners. And when people are needing them, then they come. And we call it, they sacrifice their life to go to the stars or to go to the under-earth people, because people are living under earth too. There are many levels of other people down there, just like there are people in the moon. And actually, there are people in the sun. Yes, we call them sun people. And they, yes, and the sun people also live under earth, where we call them fire beings. They are very long. They are probably 10 feet. Yeah, more than 10 feet. Actually, almost the size of the trees, up all the way up. And they are very skinny. And they have almost like a bird-like face. And they are very friendly also. So we affect their life too by, we are polluting this. So these shamans are working to harmonize this above world, under earth people, and these people who are working on the earth, walking on the earth. They call us beings walking on the earth and destroying everything. So this is the connection we have. So this technology, actually, maybe we'll understand how to use it when our technologies.
Yeah, you know, I myself, you know, thinking a lot about kind of the technology, how to use them, or how to fix, you know, how to help the nature kind of to recover from what we were doing for past 100 years. And I also believe that, you know, all the crises and everything is rather kind of mind or human construction, you know, because the universe is, in other words, only an energy, right? Also, how we can speak about it. I know that this is controversial tema. Maybe we should. Yeah, but I like your kind of view also, because this is something which we are facing now, and maybe for some people it starts to be more obvious that the way we are going now is not the way kind of for kind of bright future, right? So many things needs to be changed. So
yes, I think as I say about the cultivation, they will figure out the other way of making food. So
not hunting in Tesco, right?
No. But the way they are using, they figure out how to cultivate by using the technology, what they have. So because much of the earth is polluted somehow, is poisoned, and they have to figure out how to cleanse it and stay, and making maybe many floors of places where they can cultivate many ways of plant to eat, and the food.
And
Yes.
locally also, I
Yes.
think locally. I think all this transportation becomes really crazy now.
It is. This transportation will be almost vanished. So there will be some few connections, but I think people will understand the way of life they have been doing, where they have been destroying everything, will change.
I think also what I'm impressed that many people in our part of the world are now more and more understanding for example, what the water means, right? Water, you know.
Yes.
Water become a very rare, so to speak, becoming a rare commodity, right? And I have met a lot of people developing a new technology, for example, how water can be used, you know, also to kind of clean up, you know, the pollution without any chemical, you know, content and so on. So I think out there are many kind of clever people thinking in the similar direction of what we are here speaking. It will take still probably some time, but I am optimistic, right?
Yes, I am optimistic too, because there are many people that just wait for the for their chance to show that what they can do, because if the monetary system breaks, everybody has a chance to show their abilities, and then suddenly everything's changed to everybody's benefit.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right.
That's what I believe. So when it becomes to everybody's benefit to live on this earth, then everything is good.
Right. I think people should, to my opinion, kind of to think more about their own, so to speak, responsibility for what, you know, they are doing and for what they are creating, you know. It's not that we are depending on what the government tell us, you know, or what is really happening. People kind of should take a courage, and as you said, you know, to show, you know, what they are able to do, right?
Just the same with my people a long time ago, where they are the masters of their own life and supplying their community together to keep the life on the place where the life should be impossible to live without supporting each other. And they will be doing the same, where everybody has their skills and everybody are contributing at their best, and the way of life will be where they are together and supporting each other with many kind of skills.
That's why I'm so happy that I got a chance to speak to you, you know, because I think that this is probably also a way to bring, you know, the wisdom of independent people who are really in deep connection with nature, and kind of to bring it here and teach again our kids that it's very wise kind of to think in this way and not just to...
Right.
You understand?
So connection to the nature is connection to the heart.
Right.
So wherever you are in the big cities, or wherever you are among the technology, you don't need to go to the nature to be connected to the earth, because you are walking with the nature. You are walking with the life. Life is in here. This is the connection.
At some point I came to the conclusion that living in pure artificial intelligence technology, you even don't need to be here on the earth, right? You can fly in some satellite and create your virtual reality based on the artificial intelligence there. You don't need earth at all, right? So
when the earth do not need us, then we can go.
Right.
I'd like to ask you that if you can imagine some ideal world, if it's even possible, how it would look like to you?
I think we are living in ideal world already, right? Sure, but we were also speaking about some fixes, right? But if we even accept that what is happening now is good for, you know, as we said at the beginning, you know, every enemy or every bad event, what happened is a teacher, right?
Right.
So in this way, I would still accept that we are living in ideal world, right?
We are.
Right. So maybe we are thinking, you know, how to make the ideal world even better, right? Which is oxymoron, right?
Right. It is ideal world. We just blocked ourselves by calling it a problem.
Right.
We are blocking ourselves by saying it's a disaster. When it is our teacher coming, now you have to learn how to deal with us to do it better. So actually, everything is perfect. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. I love that. Good. So maybe that's the time to conclude with these nice words. Everything is perfect.
Yes.
And give us just an opportunity for better move in future. That's
Right.
it.
It is.
Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you also.
Thank you. Nice meeting you, young man.
Yeah.
Was good.